act that would cover criminalizing the circumvention of features. So if you crack the code on a DVD or a CD or, say, a game box, we can go after you for actually using the tools to crack the codes that would allow someone to use it for counterfeiting. So now we get to the factors that affect our decisions to prosecute. Most cases that are referred cannot be prosecuted. As Mark said, the federal government has limited resources. The state government also very limited resources. So how do we decide which cases we're going to prosecute and which cases we're not? Well, we look at the federal law enforcement priorities first. Then we'll look at the nature and seriousness of the offense. For example, what's the scale of the infringement? What's the scope, the amount of loss, the amount of harm? Is there a commercial purpose involved? Is the person trying to make money off of this? Is there a health and safety issue? I'm dealing with a case right now that deals with toothpaste that has diethylene glycol or antifreeze in it and a lot of unwanted bacteria that people were brushing their teeth with. Well, that case might get more of a priority than, say, a case involving some software. It doesn't mean the software case is not important and shouldn't be prosecuted. Tremendous economic loss going on in our country, $250 billion a year with IP crimes. But we have to be able to prioritize our time and our cases. We want to know, is there an organized crime involvement? You're going to see more and more today that you're going to see organized crime is using their established distribution chains. They were already moving guns. They were moving drugs. They're using human smuggling. They have these chains already that they can just basically send intellectual property through. If it's 100% return on your money for guns, a 400% return on your money for heroin, and a 900% return on your money for, say, counterfeit software, you know, the counterfeiters are not stupid. They're going to get into this game, and the risks are actually less than it would if they were involved with, say, illegal drugs or guns. We want to know, is there child labor involved? A lot of these luxury goods that you see on the streets are being produced by people who are the little children who are stuck in factories throughout Asia and other parts of the world. And so we want to know, is there that kind of involvement in the case? Are there adequate alternatives to going criminally? And I know Judge Liu will talk about this a little bit later, but look, civil enforcement is the biggest part of intellectual property when it comes to going after the counterfeiters. 90% of the cases are going to go civil, not criminal. So if we see that there is an adequate civil remedy, or this person really isn't a repeat offender, or perhaps our government resources can be used in other places, then that's where we're going to go. We want to know, is this person a big fish, a small fish? Can we flip them, get them to cooperate, and go after other people? Well, that might come into play also as we decide whether or not we're going to take the case. But the industry, the private sector attorneys are extremely important. Why are you important? Well, Mark alluded to some of these things. Let me go through some others. The partnership has to exist between the private sector attorneys, the trademark holders, and the investigators with the government. In fact, it's critical. It cannot be done without you. The trademark holder is a vast collective resource of knowledge, information, expertise. You're the ones, not the government, who are economically positioned to do these types of cases. You build intelligence on the companies that you represent. You identify the enemy. You cultivate confidential informants. You handle tips from consumers. You do these federal civil seizure programs that Judge Liu will talk about, that Mark alluded to. You identify products before and after seizures. There are training programs put on by many of the attorneys and the trademark holders. And through the civil depositions that Mark was talking about, you put the counterfeiters on notice. They get knowledge, and that's very, very big for the criminal case. One of the hardest things to prove in a criminal case is that the person was trafficking in a counterfeit good, knowing that good to be counterfeit, that mark was counterfeit. And sometimes through the depositions, you already did half the work for us. Once we see these, that they already know that the mark was counterfeit, then we can go after them criminally. How does this play out? Well, this is a case I did recently involving Rockwell Automation software. I really didn't know much about Rockwell Automation software, but basically this software allows machines in an automation plant to talk to each other. This is how they're going to run the plant. And this software is pretty expensive. The packages that were being sold by the counterfeiters would sell, if they were sold as those packages, for $30,000 to $250,000 per package. The counterfeiters were actually selling these for about $200 on eBay. And so Rockwell discovered the criminal sales. They made their own purchases. They reported they hired counsel. Then they reported the activity to the FBI. The FBI goes in, makes their own purchases of the software, and then we went back to the trademark holder and to their attorneys and said, okay, we want the copyright registration information,